Live from the Shoop Sports Studio. It's your boy Shoop with your boy.
It's your boy Chuck. You know what it is, fellas and ladies. We're getting after it.
Hell yeah. Thank you for including all of us, all of our great viewers who are watching this show today. And if you are watching this show today, well, you better get excited because it is Wild Card Weekend.
Let's
That's right. The
go.
playoffs have started. January football is here. And we're here to break down all six matchups, all phases of those matchups. Who's going to win? What do we expect? What are our bold predictions? All that good stuff. So buckle up because we got a big show comp ahead. But before we get into it, we got to hit the audience with our dub and our L, Chuck. And we got a special W for this week. And what would that be?
Oh, our dub is shit, I totally forgot. I'm sorry. What's our dub?
So the coach, our legendary coaches.
Oh
So
yeah, okay. All right. True. 24 hours, two of them gone. What are the odds?
it has been absolutely remarkable. So within this span of 3 days, so we had Mike Vrabel get canned, and people were shocked about it. But little did they know what was coming next. So then we get Pete Carroll and the Seahawks. They part ways. Nick Saban decides that night to retire, which I think was probably the most unexpected of them all.
Yeah.
Retiring from Alabama, still in the prime of his career, coaching wise. And then you got Bill Belichick, who we've heard rumors: is he going to get fired? Is he going to stay? What's going to happen? Well, they parted ways as well. And Belichick, we don't know if his coaching career is done. We know that Saban's retired, and we know that Carroll's not going to be coaching for anyone, at least anytime soon. This is remarkable, but you got to give a W to all these guys for having great careers, transforming the programs or teams that they were a part of. Bill Belichick did more than just transform the Patriots. He turned them into the greatest dynasty in NFL history.
Yeah.
Nick Saban turned Alabama into maybe the greatest dynasty in college football history. And then Pete Carroll took a Seahawks team that had never won anything ever and made them very, very relevant. So hats off to all three of those guys. Chuck, your thoughts?
I just think it was out of nowhere, all these retirings and stepping down and firings. You didn't really expect it. You always think these guys are going to be around for a long time, especially if they're in prominent organizations and they made their mark in those organizations. But I guess we're witnessing a new era here in the NFL and in the college football landscape, and with new things, a lot of exciting things to come. So I'm kind of excited to see a lot of change. One hot take that I do have, I think Belichick might retire on the spot because I think the coaching job's available. I don't think he would be intrigued whatsoever. Maybe one of the playoff teams that might have a coaching change, I think he'll go there. But right now, the teams that are available, I don't think he'll join, and he might retire on the spot.
The Falcons are reported to show interest. I don't know if that interest is mutual or not. But
Yeah.
Of course, the Falcons would want to hire the greatest coach of all time. Like, who wouldn't?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's really Bill's pick, and I wouldn't blame him if he just, retires, or he just takes like a step down, like either an advisor role or like a DC role. Maybe not lead the entire organization again. Maybe he just kind of rides off into the sunset behind the scenes a little bit. I can see him doing that.
And when you look at it, how all these coaches ended their seasons, it's like you wouldn't think they'd go out like that either. That's why I think it's the most surprising.
Yeah, but like for Bill, it was certainly his time. I don't think it was necessarily Pete's time, but he is getting older. Same with Saban, but these guys, we don't know how they're feeling. Like they could have been thinking this for years, but they're like, when do I stop? When do I stop? So they made that decision, and I'm happy for them.
More to come.
More to come. Not happy with this guy. So our L of the week is going to go to Wink Martindale, who was one of the coaches also let go, although he more so resigned from the Giants. And then after he resigned to, quote, take on head coaching opportunities, which I'm not sure he's going to get. Some more details had come out about the arguments between Brian Dable and Wink Martindale. And there is a specific example in the Giants Cowboys game in the second half of the season when Tommy DeVito was making his, I believe, his second career start. Oh no, his first career start. He has his first career appearance the prior week.
Mm-hmm.
So Dable wanted to call a conservative game plan for DeVito to help ease him in and rely on the defense, playing it safe to try to get, keep it a low score game and try to keep the Giants in it. Well, apparently Wink Martindale said, screw your game plan. And then he just decided to call blitzes the entire game. The Giants end up getting crushed. It was something like 49-17.
Yeah.
And they had an argument at halftime that was seen on the field by, everybody. And after the game, Dable said was that they were just arguing over like a play call or something like that. But now it comes out that they just didn't get along. Wink tried to go over Dable's head and just try to, make up his own game plan. Like he pretended like he was his own head coach. Look, Wink runs a great defense and Dable's a great coach himself. But, if you're the DC, you got to listen to the head coach. That's the pecking order. That's how it is. And if these reports are true, then I'm glad he's gone, even though he is great, because you can't have someone undermining someone else on the staff just like that. And not to mention the fact that they fired one of the coaches on the staff that was Wink's friend, and that's what he was mad about. But that coach was like one of the worst on the Giants staff. So, I hope we replace him. Well, I don't know if we will, but we can't have that kind of guy coaching. That's a big L.
That's a huge L, and you can't have that in the locker room. And then you talk about the game that happened. That was like week, I think 11 or 12, midway through the season, and you start having that on the sidelines. There's no wonder that the Giants lost all those games and couldn't stay in games, and that happens with the players too. The players see that and they start disobeying each other and they don't trust each other. And I think it's just really sad overall. And I mean, I hope the Giants hire someone that's definitely a team player. I didn't hear much about this, so finding out that like he was going over the head coach's head, like that's not how you run a team. That's not how a team is successful. And I don't know what they're going to do with the offensive coordinator also, because that's definitely a big question that needs to be solved. So I think the Giants are definitely a mess right now, but hopefully him resigning is a better way looking forward to the future. So I hope they get their shit together.
Definitely. And so long, Wink. Hope the door doesn't hit you too hard on the way out.
Yeah, good luck with the head coaching job.
Yeah, right. Anyway, so enough about these head coach firings and hirings. Yeah, we still got football to play.
Yes.
So let's get into Wild Card Weekend. We're going to break down all 6 matchups for you, and we're going to start with the very first matchup of the weekend, which is the Cleveland Browns, the number 5 seed in the AFC, versus the AFC South champions, the Houston Texans. These two teams played in Week 16, where the Browns absolutely slaughtered the Texans, although without C.J. Stroud. But Joe Flacco and Amari Cooper put on an amazing performance, specifically Cooper, in that game. The Texans are riding high, coming off their first primetime win in the new era, but the Browns are a great story of their own, with Joe Flacco simply coming off the couch and having an amazing season. So, Chuck, where I want to lead things off, what is the better story coming into this game? Flacco's resurgence or Stroud's amazing rookie year?
They're both very important stories to each of their teams, but I think the one that stands out the most definitely has to be Flacco coming off the couch and absolutely just slinging it like he was playing in Week 1. I think that's super impressive, and he makes the Cleveland offense look 10 times easier than Watson did starting in the beginning of the season. So it's awesome to see that offense just explode onto the scene late in the season. And now they've got a playoff spot. I'm happy for the Browns organization. Like, Cleveland is one of the most snake-bitten franchises in the history of the NFL. So, like, if they make a run right now, especially beating this game. Like Texans are a good team. Nobody thought the Texans were going to win the AFC South. Maybe one, two, three people because they thought CJ Stroud was going to blow up, and he did. But all CJ Stroud aside, that Texans team is a great team, and if Cleveland can win on the road at Energy Stadium and then move on to the next round, the story is bigger than when it started. So it definitely has to go to Flacco.
Oh yeah, we're like I'm sure the NFL is salivating over that potential storyline of him going back to Baltimore to play the Ravens. That would be quite something. But let's talk about Stroud for a second because Stroud was the second overall pick, and there were reports that the Panthers coaching staff liked Stroud more, but they decided to go with Young for whatever reason, uh, because of ownership. Ownership wanted Young.
Yeah.
So now Stroud comes in and he performs like a rookie quarterback. Like really, we haven't seen. I mean, if you're really take into account like MVP, like who's the most valuable to your team this year, like who contributed the most wins, I think it's hard to find someone else in the league that contributed to more wins than CJ Stroud did to
True.
this Texans team. A young team, not a great receiving cast, but Stroud turned a guy like Nico Collins into a superstar. Tank Dell was looking like a superstar before he got hurt.
Yeah.
And then the Texans have their first real primetime game. And Stroud, on the very first play, makes this absolutely amazing throw, impresses the entire audience. I'm super impressed with how poised Stroud is, but also how humble he is and like the kind of leader he is. He seems wise beyond his years. So while I do think Flacco is an amazing story, and I think he's the comeback player of the year in my book, we got to give some love to Stroud too, because what he's doing as a rookie, being like an MVP candidate already, it's got to make Texans fans extremely excited.
I'd be excited too after not making the playoffs for I don't remember last time they were in a couple of years ago, and now they have 2019. So and they were in that year too. They were hoping to go to the AFC Championship, but then they got stomped off by my Chiefs. And now they have a quarterback who's probably 10 times better than Deshaun Watson, and he just made the playoffs in his rookie year. If I'm a Texans fan, I'm ecstatic for this game right now.
Yes, I think both franchises are super ecstatic, and one of these is going to be left heartbroken. So let's get into the matchup.
Yeah.
So let's talk injuries. So key injuries on both sides, and really the key injuries in this game lie on the Texans side because they have two key players, Will Anderson, their star rookie defensive end, and Noah Brown, their at the moment number 2 receiver. Both of them questionable, both haven't practiced all week. You go to the Browns side, Juan Thornhill, Denzel Ward, both of them questionable. Dustin Hopkins, their place kicker, is out, so they'll be going for backup kicker again. Chuck, what is the most significant injury in this game?
I would have to say Denzel Ward for the Browns. Even though they have a tremendous pass rush, they're number 1 overall in pass average on defense, passing yards average allowed. So losing Denzel Ward, that's definitely a weakness on their defense, and that could be a whole side that the Texans, they'll pass almost every down. So that's a whole side of the field that they can attack where they're going after the next guy up on that defense who I don't remember who the next guy up for him is, but Denzel Ward's definitely a shutdown guy, and that's huge if he's out for this game. So definitely the Cleveland injury.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and if Ward doesn't play, then their cornerback depth is going to be in real big trouble. But I really want to see if Will Anderson can make it this week. I mean, they really didn't have much of a pass rush when prior to this year. Now he comes in, he rejuvenates it a little bit. But if he's out, you already got Jerry Hughes. He's confirmed out for this week. The Texans, they're not going to be able to get any sort of pass rush. And we saw what Joe Flacco was able to do with tons of time. Mm-hmm. So they can't have a repeat of that. So got to have Anderson in. The Noah Brown injury is kind of significant, but I think it can be overcome. I think there's if we get Robert Woods to play, and some of these reserve receivers, I think they can make an impact still, especially if there's a beat up secondary for the Browns.
Schultz will make a play. Yeah, Robert Woods, Nico Collins is balling out, so they're gonna have Browns are probably gonna have to double team him. Also, Flacco threw for 368 yards and 3 touchdowns. He did throw 2 picks. Again, they weren't playing against C.J. Stroud. I think it was Davis Mills and Case Keenum came in for that game. But this is going to be either a shootout or it's going to be one of those gritty games that's going to be like 20-17 at the end of it. Because both these defense can show out. Because Texans defense, they're 6th in the rush average. I think they can hold down the rush against the Browns, who really want to start running the ball in the beginning with Jerome Ford. And also, the Browns defense is 32nd in red zone touchdown rate. So Texans who get into the red zone all the time, they're going to have opportunities to score right off the bat if they can hit those deep passes to Nico Collins and company.
And CJ Stroud hasn't even thrown an interception in the red zone all season.
Nope.
So that seemed like a matchup that could be exploited. But what is your key matchup in this game before we move on to our pick?
I say it every time, and I'm a broken record, but it's the line of scrimmage. Myles Garrett is going to have a field day if they can't double him or if they can't neutralize him if the Texans want to run the ball. Because the defense on the Brown side, they're number 1 in pass rush, but they're kind of like 11th in run average. So, I mean, if the Texans can establish the run game early and avoid having Myles Garrett wreck the game, I think that's the matchup right there. So at the line of scrimmage, someone's got to control that right off the bat, whether it's running the ball or in pass protection, because sacks make stacks. And that's how you're going to win this game, is sacking the quarterback either side.
I think the biggest thing in this game, I think this is going to be a shootout, in my opinion. You've seen the Browns offense really come alive over the past month.
Mm-hmm.
The Texans, you know what they can do on offense with Stroud at the helm. And you know they're not the type of team that's going to run the ball down your throat. They barely had a running game all season. I think we're going to see a lot of points on the board, which means that it might come down to who's more careful of the ball. Yeah, Stroud's been excellent with taking care of the ball all season. Flacco has been too, although he's had some picks. A lot of times those picks have been like late in the game when the game was already decided.
Yeah.
So who's going to make the critical mistake? That's what I think is really going to come down to, because this is such a close, even matchup.
Yeah.
It's really hard to find a difference. They're both great stories. They've both been hot over the past month. So I'm really excited for this game. Let's go into our picks. Chuck, who you got?
I got the Browns. Browns and one of my locks, Browns -2.5. Browns, baby.
Mm-hmm. I want to go the Browns as well. So get this. So there have been 9 rookie quarterbacks or first-time playoff quarterbacks since 2000 that were home underdogs. Those quarterbacks were 2-7 straight up.
Wow.
Now, Stroud probably better than most of those guys. Like Taylor Heineke is an example of one, the last one in 2020.
Yeah.
But you still have to think this is such a huge moment. You're going against a guy that has tons of playoff experience, and you're going against a team that's been there before. I mean, this Texans team, like most of these guys have not been in this kind of moment before. So it's hard for me to want to side with a young, inexperienced team like this.
Yeah.
I think the Browns have the right momentum, and I think they've been saving up for this game, and I think they can control the game to their tempo. They want to run the ball. They want to control the clock. And I think that they're going to be able to put it together. I think the Texans are well set up for the future, but it's not their year.
No, not yet. Not yet.
Not quite yet. All right, so let's get into the Saturday night game exclusively on Peacock, unfortunately for all of us, because this is looking like a potential must-see game. Dolphins and Chiefs. It's not must-see for the reasons you think. We think of the Dolphins and Chiefs as two of the potentially most explosive offenses in the league. But if you look at the weather forecast, we're expecting a feels-like temperature of almost negative 30 degrees. That is like frostbite level cold. Like, I can't imagine wanting to attend that game. But somebody out there will, and I'm sure it'll be a hell of a time. But the players got to play in it. Chuck, Have you ever played in a really cold weather game before, and how does it impact you?
Yes. My senior year, we went all the way up to uh, Portland, Maine, and it was against this team, against this college, University of New England, and we legit played in a monsoon. It was nonstop rain. Um, I had to change at halftime. You really, in those games, you really just get used to the elements. Um, as it leads up to the game. You get ready. You prepare your mindset that you're going to be wet. It's going to be uncomfortable. You just got to run through the rain and just become one with the elements. And I think that's the greatest thing about the Chiefs is they're going to use this to their home field advantage. They've probably been practicing all week outside. I saw a clip the other day. Kelsey came out to the practice field and he's just wearing his jersey, no long sleeve, no leggings, just shorts in his jersey, looking like a dog. So I don't think the cold will affect them, but for the Miami boys, it's definitely going to affect them, especially because they're just in Florida all the time.
Oh, you gotta think that Miami's kicking themselves for not winning that game.
Exactly.
They go from home field in the first round, potentially even further in the playoffs, to now that you gotta go into cold, frigid Kansas City in front of probably still very loud fans. So not ideal for the Dolphins. And what else isn't ideal for the Dolphins is this growing injury report that has been just like overloading the Dolphins over the past month or so.
It's
So
gross.
Xavier Howard, their top corner, I mean, you argue him or Jalen Ramsey, but Howard is still one of their top corners. He's out. He's confirmed out for this weekend. You still got Raheem Mostert and Jalen Waddle questionable. Javon Holland is questionable. And there were some major injuries suffered by the team, including Jerome Baker, Andrew Van Ginkel, both of them, both star players on that defense, on injured reserve due to injuries they suffered in the Bills game, and not to mention a backup pass rusher. They already down Bradley Chubb. So, Chuck, with all
Yeah.
these injuries surmounting for the Dolphins, what can they possibly rely on if they want to win this game?
I think it's definitely going to have to be right now. Dolphins, they're like middle of the pack in pass average on defense. They're seventh in rush defense, though. It sounds like they're missing a lot of key guys up front, but if they can hold the Chiefs to not a lot of rushing, like maybe less than 105 rushing yards, they definitely have a chance in this game because the Chiefs, as you saw the whole season, they have no rhythm when it comes to the pass game, and it's looking really scary right now as a Chiefs fan going into this playoff game. I'm definitely worried, but the Dolphins can definitely win if they can just hold the Chiefs to the run game and make Mahomes make the throws that he doesn't really want to make, which is dunking it down to the running back and just you play all the way flats and you just rally to the ball. Don't let anybody get beat deep. Double Kelsey. So I mean, even though they have a lot of injuries, they have a game plan that can stop the Chiefs, and people have done it before against the Chiefs.
True, even with the injuries last week, they still held James Cook, one of the hottest running backs in the NFL, statistically,
Yeah,
uh, to 36 yards on 13 carries.
gross.
So that's right in their wheelhouse, being able to stop the run. They've been doing it all year. So, and you figure with these temperatures, is it possible to beat a team early? It's going to affect the Dolphins' game plan too, but definitely the Chiefs as well. You know, I talked about the worries for the Dolphins injury wise, but the Chiefs have had plenty of worry. They kind of just limped into a division title towards the end of the year, and it's clear as day what the problem is. The receivers are just it's just not a talented group. I mean, it's a
Mm-mm.
talented group, but it's almost like a boneheaded group. You got Kadarius Toney, who makes a stupid play seemingly every week. You got MVS, who is signed to this big contract and can't even get open. He's a
Yeah,
deep threat, can't even get open.
yeah.
Uh, they're relying on a third round rookie, Rasheed Rice, to lead the offense forward. And even Travis Kelsey, for the first time in 7 years, didn't hit 1,000 yards. So his worst season in quite some time. So big worries for the receiving corps. Chuck, if the Chiefs do want to win this game, what should their game plan be?
The game plan's got to be run the ball. To give the ball to Pacheco. I know McKinnon's going to be out. He's on IR, so that means they're going to have to give the ball to Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and he doesn't look that good. But I mean, he's definitely a guy who's going to get you 3 yards. Like he's going to put his shoulders down. But Pacheco's going to have to go off here. Um, Also, Mahomes can't turn the ball over. Like he's got to take what the defense is giving him. They're going to double Kelsey all day. That's got to be the game plan going into it. Mahomes just has to take what the defense gives him, have him play managerial football, maybe take a shot once or twice, get Rice going. But if you start turning the ball over, like the Dolphins can capitalize on those turnovers so easily, and they can turn 50 yards into a touchdown in almost half a second. So the Chiefs defense is going to have to pick up a lot this game, I think, and the weather is going to favor them. So if the Chiefs D just plays hard, holds the Dolphins to 14 points like last time they played in Germany, I think the Chiefs walk out of there with the win.
It's such a good point, Chuck. It seems weird to call or to say Mahomes needs to be a game manager, but in this situation, absolutely. With the weather conditions Kansas favoring Kansas City and the fact that the run game, the Dolphins are good at stopping the run, Mahomes just like takes the easy points and like sustains long drives, wears that defense out that's full of backups. I think this game will fall in the Chiefs' favor. The Dolphins have been winning all year by having an explosive attack with their running backs, but also with mostly with their receivers. Tyreek Hill, he's been limping throughout the past month. He hasn't been the same, and the Chiefs are weak to number two receivers. But if Jalen Waddle isn't playing, or if he's half as healthy as he needs to be, the Dolphins aren't going to have that impact that they need to. That makes them, that's made them so explosive this year. So I'm going to agree with you here. I think the Chiefs are going to take this one. Uh, like I said, weather conditions. I don't know how Miami's going to come in and respond to this, especially with all the scrambling they're going to have to do with like filling in for stars on defense. I mean, they had Melvin Ingram covering receivers like in that last game. That's how bad they're hurt on defense. I don't know, even with all the, incompetency in the Chiefs receiving core, I still trust them a lot more than the Dolphins on the road in this kind of environment.
I got the Chiefs -4, and this is a quick rant. People forget it's the same team as last year. The offense, yeah, they look shitty. They lead the league in drops, but it's the same guys as last year. They got the experience in the playoffs. It's their game to lose. Like I said, if Mahomes takes care of the football, they win the game. Like all they have to do is run the football, establish a aggressiveness at the line of scrimmage. Kelsey, he's probably going to get doubled, but he's going to have to block his ass off for Pacheco. I'm pumped for this game. I'm nervous, but the Chiefs definitely give me Tom Brady 2019, 2020 vibes. So I like this team a lot. Let's
I
go
agree with
defense.
you. So
Spags.
let's
Spags has got us.
and Chiefs very healthy as well, so that benefits them too. So, so we got Chiefs and we got Browns. Let's
Yeah.
roll into the Sunday games and starting with the 1 o'clock game. The team that benefited from the Sunday night victory, the Buffalo Bills, get a home game against the Pittsburgh Steelers, who, quite honestly, are lucky to be in. And if I'm being honest, I was definitely rooting for the Jaguars on Sunday because once TJ Watt suffered that injury, I knew it was not going to be the same Pittsburgh Steelers team. So let's go over real quick. So TJ Watt suffered a grade 2 MCL sprain. He is certainly out for this week. Who knows how long? Probably out for the rest of the season. But he's not playing this week. And the Steelers are still starting Mason Rudolph. They're going to be going into Buffalo. It's probably going to be pretty frigid in Buffalo as well. Chuck, let's just get straight to it. Do the Steelers have any chance in this game?
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. I don't even think they cover, and it's at like +10.5 now or +10 on all books. I got Bills -9.5.
The Bills covering seems like the lock of the week.
It is. It has to be.
First off, can we just talk about for a second the fact that the Steelers have had two linebackers now injured via friendly fire this season? Their starting middle linebacker, Cole Holcomb, was injured mid-November
He was
on the
balling.
Thursday night game because
Yeah.
of a guy ran into his leg. Same thing happened to TJ Watt. Like, these guys got to be more disciplined. Like, they got to watch where they're flying around the field.
Stay on your feet. I mean, it's not that hard.
Yeah, well, the Bills are rolling in. They're one of the hottest teams in the NFL. They're playing amazing on defense. Offense is clicking too. Josh Allen's not going to be forced to make a bunch of ridiculous decisions this week. Uh, Steelers are going to be starting a bunch of reserves on defense. Linebacking core has been atrocious. They've been just decimated with injuries. The the defensive backs, they're pretty good, but it's not going to matter if they can just run it all day with James Cook. Yeah, this one seems pretty lopsided to me, and especially like I just think that this Steelers team, they're not the kind of team that's like super gritty. There's just a lot of diva personalities on this team. I just think
Yeah.
that we could see him quit early. So I think this one's a wrap, Chuck.
Oh, it's a wrap. Some quick stats for you. Steelers defense are 17th in pass average, 19th in rush average. I think the Bills are going to have a field day here. They're 21st in third down percentage. The Steelers defense. So even if the Steelers, I think, get the Bills in like third and short, I think it's an automatic first down all the way out throughout the game. You're going to see um, Josh Allen masterclass game. So definitely bet him to score a touchdown anytime. Bills.
Like that pick. All right, let's go to the 4 o'clock Sunday game. This is every NFL broadcaster's wet dream to cover a Packers Cowboys game in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Great matchup. We also have the revenge angle of Mike McCarthy going up against his replacement, Matt LaFleur. This is Jordan Love's first career playoffs start. Dak Prescott already has had a bunch. Cowboys still have not advanced past the divisional round in almost 30 years at this point now. They're trying to buck that trend this year. But first, they got to make it past the wild card round. Chuck, Cowboys open up at a 7.5-point spread. So let's talk about first expectations for the Packers going into this game. So they're coming in as a big underdog. But Chuck, do you give them any sort of chance going into Dallas?
I really like the Packers here. I definitely am. I'm taking the Packers to cover. I'm actually going to buy a couple points. I'm going to do Packers plus 8.5 as one of my locks. Um, I if the Cowboys are going to win, it's definitely. I think it's going to be a close game. I think the Packers can take it to them. I think Jordan Love's been playing really good football. Cowboys injuries. Gilmore is questionable, and so is Tyron Smith. I don't know if they'll play or not, but that's definitely something to look for with those two injured. Um, but Cowboys are 16th in rush. I know the Packers can definitely establish a run game early with Jones back, especially, and AJ Dillon. Cowboys defense is also 19th in red zone scoring rate. So I think that the Packers can get down the field, and if they get into the red zone, they definitely can score a touchdown against the Cowboys. Cowboys offense we've seen it; it looks amazing. But I think we're due for a little Dak Prescott. The moment's too big, couple turnovers here and there. So if the Packers can get some turnovers throughout the game and keep it close with a couple of punts, I think the Packers can definitely cover and they can definitely win on the road because we've seen this Cowboys team choke a number of times in playoffs.
Yeah, so let's talk about some matchups real quick. So I'm looking at this game as another potential shootout this weekend. So these two teams have definitely been exploited on defense this year. You look at the starting with the Green Bay defense. The Green Bay defense has not been strong against the run, and they're very weak to slot receivers. Who plays the slot for the Cowboys? None other than CeeDee Lamb. If you have a DFS lineup this week, you're trying to go for like a captain, CeeDee Lamb's your guy. I expect him to have a monster game. I think he's going to get fed targets, and it's going to be a well-paced game because on the other side, the Cowboys are also pretty weak to the slot receivers. And Jaden Reed's been making some great plays all season. And a lot of these young receivers for the Packers have been stepping up. Where I think the Cowboys being a 7.5-point favorite is wrong is the fact that they really haven't been able to establish any sort of consistent run game all year. if you're going to back a big favorite like that, you want a team that can close out the game with the run. And Tony Pollard just hasn't been the same since he broke his leg last playoffs. He's been a huge disappointment to people who were expecting to break out this year.
Yeah.
And even against the weak run defense, I don't really see how that changes all that much. The big thing for the Packers is going to be, like I said, lots of young receivers. Who's going to step up and who's going to make plays? Who's going to get open? I believe that Jordan Love, he's not a rookie quarterback. He's a veteran. He's just not a lot of starting experience, but he's learned behind Aaron Rodgers. He's seen him, in playoff games before. I think him being poised is not something to worry about. It's more so can his supporting cast be, be up to the challenge. Like Texans. Texans are coming into a playoff game really the first time as a unit. All being in the playoffs is really the same for the Packers. So can the young guys step up in a big moment?
Well, watch out on the Packers. Watch out for Rashawn Gary have a game, because if Tyron Smith is out, which I haven't heard, but he could definitely attack his weaknesses, and I think the Packers pass rush definitely can get home.
Yes. And Tyron Smith, I feel like he's always injured, so I don't know if he's necessarily in huge jeopardy. I think they'll probably just doll him up and get him out there, like usual.
Tape him up, yeah, just tape his ankle.
Yeah. So anyway, let's get into the pick. So we got the Packers covering the spread, but do they pull the upset here?
I'm gonna say yes.
Oh baby,
I'm gonna say yes.
that would be a bold call. I don't know. I still have to go with the Cowboys. Amazing home record. They've been solid all year, and the wild card round has not been their problem. So I think that they're going to keep progressing, and they're going to move on to that next round.
Hey, Packers cover, I'll be happy.
I will be extremely happy. All right, so we got 2 more playoff matchups to cover, and this next one we're about to cover is maybe the biggest one of the entire weekend. And that is going to be Matthew Stafford visiting his former team,
Yeah.
the Detroit Lions, going into Detroit. Detroit is hosting a playoff game in the first round for the first time ever since they were in the NFC North. It's going to be huge. The fans are going to be rocking, and they're going to give it to Stafford on the other side. Lots to look forward to, but what are you looking forward to most?
I'm looking forward to this game being an absolute offensive fest. Like, it's going to be a shootout. I'm ready for the big plays from either quarterbacks, either wide receivers, maybe a couple turnovers from each side that keeps the game going. But I wouldn't be surprised if this game ended like 38-35. So, and it's a really tough pick for me because I like seeing the Lions just go like just on this ride right now. But the Rams, like, they definitely have the talent to make a run. So either of these teams, I'm stumped right now. But some key injuries for the Rams. Higbee's questionable, Jordan Fuller's questionable, and they're missing one of their linemen is questionable, Note Boom. And then for the Lions injuries, Laporta and Raymond are questionable. So Laporta, I don't know if he's playing or not. He suffered a pretty bad injury recently, but I think that injury on the Lions is definitely a factor.
I don't think Laporte is playing for sure, but even with that, I still think the offenses will be explosive. I'm looking forward to most seeing which of these 3 superstar receivers we have in this game takes over. Amon-Ra has been a receptions monster this entire year. He's been Goff's go-to guy, and he's going to have to be even more of a go-to guy now with Laporta out. That's going to be massive. And then the receivers for the Rams side, Puka Nacua. What can you not say that we haven't said already? He's just been.
Oh, shit died. Oh, shit died. Oh, no.
All right, we're back.
Is it still recording?
Hold on.